ensure that educational leadership is balanced and purposeful, we require the right material to help our educators enable an inclusive ecosystem. It is my extra pleasure to invite Srimati Ambika Subramaniam, an alumna of our university, the Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, class of 1989, to give us the insight into educational leadership and its strategic importance in an inclusive arena. Welcome, ma'am.
Sairam. Sairam, everybody. Pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan Baba, respected elders, and my dear friends. I'm thankful to the esteemed members of Vidyavahini for giving me the opportunity to share some of my thoughts on the topic Leadership for Inclusive Education. Heading a center for students with learning challenges for more than 15 years, I shall humbly present this topic from my learnings as an inclusive leader. I would like to give a brief about Vidyaniketan Academy, where I head. Vidyaniketan Academy, I can say, is an exclusively inclusive school catering to children with learning challenges. I will not use the word learning difficulties here, as I feel we need to redefine LD. It is learning differently. We are in between the mainstream schools and the special needs schools. We cater to students who cannot fit into a mainstream school and do not need to be in a special school. We adapt the NIOS curriculum, and uniqueness of our setup is we do not follow grade systems. We have levels, and we give names to each level every year. That is, we give names to each level because we have early intervention, readiness levels, then the pre-NIOS readiness level 1 to 5, and then we have the pre-NIOS levels, NIOS levels, and the senior secondary levels, and then we have the occasional program too. And we give names every year. Okay, so this year we have the dynasty names. We have the Vijayanagara, Maurya, Chola, etc. And last year we had the river names, and the previous years I think we had the tree names. The reason is we do not want any child to be left behind. The children are put in the levels not as per their age, but as per their level of academic functioning. All the teachers here are special educators. We have close to 100 students in the age group of 5 to 24 years. The student-teacher ratio is 1. The teacher-student ratio is 1:8. We work on the strengths of each child to overcome their challenges. They have full school experience, and it's beyond a remedial center. This year, we have taken I would also mention here, this year I have taken one of my students who completed a grade 12 and had gone to one of the esteemed universities, completed a degree, and came back here to support us, and she is one of our assistant teachers. She is also here with us. And I've also brought in 10 of the teachers who are the special educators, and this is the first time experience here, and they're all overwhelmed seeing what Vidyavahini is doing. And also, our students have extremely done well. They've also, then after grade 12, they're included into the mainstream colleges, and they succeed very well. I would like to mention here, one of our students also has completed Kalaripayuttu, the Kerala martial art, and now he's going to participate in the national, he cleared a state level and is going for the national level competitions in August. Some of them have moved to become entrepreneurs, gone to do hotel management, even some of them have become budding politicians. There we are. So I do not want to talk too much about VNA now, with Aniketan. So my topic today is what is inclusive leadership, leadership for inclusive education. What is inclusive leadership? Inclusive leadership is a leadership approach that promotes diversity, equity, and belonging. Inclusive leaders embrace differences between team members and work to create an environment where everyone feels accepted and valued. Inclusive school teachers steer the way towards more inclusive school practices. They take responsibility for and value all learners irrespective of their background, needs, and abilities. A useful difference here, which we've been talking for the past 2 days, is about equality and equity. Here, I'm not going to describe more in detail. Equality is giving the same treatment to all. And again, this is not expected from an inclusive leader, whereas equity calls for ensuring every child has the proper support they need to grow and learn. Equity in education requires leaders to understand the unique challenges and barriers facing the individuals and families and find solutions to overcoming those barriers. We need to promote equity. Now, coming to what is the role of a leader in setting up an inclusive environment, setting the vision. The leader defines and articulates a clear vision of inclusive education that emphasizes equity, diversity, and respect for all students regardless of background, ability, and identity. Developing policies and strategies. The leader has to develop and implement policies, guidelines, and strategies that support inclusive practices throughout the school. This includes policy on curriculum adaptation, accessibility, inclusive hiring practices, and professional development for staff. Here in our school, again, I would like to mention, here we have a dynamic curriculum. We sometimes need to change or tweak the curriculum even sometime once in a fortnight. So when we have our academic review meetings, we see that if the curriculum we have planned is not fitting the group, then we adapt it immediately. We tweak the curriculum and see that it's helping every child there. Allocating resources. Leaders ensure that adequate resources, financial, human, and material, are allocated to support inclusive education initiatives. This may include funding for assistive technologies, special education services, and training programs for educators. Fostering professional development. They prioritize and facilitate ongoing professional development opportunities for educators and staff to enhance their understanding of diverse learning needs and effective inclusive teaching strategies. Creating a supportive culture. It is not only enough if a leader is having a vision of inclusion. The culture should be imbibed in the institution. Leaders foster a school culture that values and celebrates diversity. They promote open communication, mutual respect, and collaboration among all stakeholders, students, families, educators, and community members. Working with special needs would definitely be draining. Hence, we need to create a supportive culture among the team members. Collaboration and partnership. Nothing can be achieved all alone. So we need collaboration partnerships with similar organizations. The inclusive leader must foster partnerships with families, community organizations, and advocacy groups to ensure that broader community is engaged in supporting inclusive practices and addressing the diverse needs of students. Here, sometimes we also have programs for grandparents, because most of the time, grandparents are the ones who are taking up in charge of taking care of the children. So we do have programs even for grandparents. Monitoring progress and accountability. Inclusive leaders establish systems to monitor progress towards inclusive educational goals. and hold themselves and others accountable for creating inclusive environment. This includes collecting data of student outcomes, conducting regular assessments, and adjusting strategies as needed. I said we believe in everyday assessments. We do not wait for the formative or summative or whatever you call it there, but here we do everyday assessment. If the child is not learned today this way, we tell the teachers to adapt different strategies. Addressing barriers. They identify and address barriers to inclusivity within the school environment, such as physical barriers, social stigmas, and systemic biases. This may involve advocating for policy changes, promoting inclusive language and practices, and ensuring accessibility for all. Supporting individual needs. This is the main thing which we all talk about, IEPs. Leaders support the individual needs of students by ensuring that personalized learning plans, accommodations, and support services are available and effectively implemented. Yesterday, I think Bharti ma'am or somebody was speaking about IEP and the other IEP. Here we also speak about IEP. We also have behavior plans. We also have something called group goals. Every teacher here, because I told you that each teacher has only 8 students, and in that 8 students, we have different challenges. So we do have group goals and also individual education plans. Promoting continuous improvement. They promote a culture of continuous improvement where feedback is sought from all stakeholders and adjustments are made based on evidence-based practices and research in inclusive education. Advocacy and leadership. Leaders advocate for inclusive education at all levels and forums, influencing policies and practices beyond their immediate school community. Because I think our life and breath should be of inclusivity. Only then we can talk, or we have to feel inclusivity everywhere around us. What are the key elements? There are 6 C's which I would like to talk about here of inclusive leadership. First C is consciousness. Every inclusive leader should be always conscious of taking decisions in a way that every person in the system is included. So when we do a lesson plan, we see that all the 6 children or 8 children in the group are taken care of. And similarly, even with our teachers, we see that every teacher has a point to say there. Curiosity. The leader must be open to learning. I remember Steve Jobs here. He said, stay hungry and stay foolish. Curious to always find out the best strategy to work with each student as each student learns differently. Here, I would also like to mention that this year, I have a gifted child in my group where he could not fit into any of the mainstream schools. His IQ is 140. He's extremely brilliant, of a 10-year-old, but he has the information overload of almost of 18 years. So we need to keep him. So his activities should be as challenging. So it's more challenging for a teacher to work with him, because he has so much of potential. And in the same class, I will be having a slow learner or a child who will not even be able to read. So it's a big, tough challenge for the teachers to work on here. Courage to make changes in the system. Compassion. Remember Swami's quote here, you cannot always oblige, but can always speak obligingly. Students learn only when the environment is compassionate, empathetic, and not sympathetic. The leader must bring in the culture of compassion in the environment. Competence. The leader must be competent enough to take unbiased decisions. Next, very important, is consistency. Because you cannot have a rule, and if you are not consistent, it will not work. Because children are very smart. They look whether they can feel the pulse very soon. So you have to always be consistent. You needn't have to be rude to them, but you can always be firm in your decisions. Be consistent in the decisions you take. Always consistent in the decision making, and be a role model. Inclusion cannot just happen in attendance registers. Inclusion should be a path to tread on. Coming to the benefits of inclusive leadership. This I can tell you from my experience. So these are the benefits I put of being an inclusive leader. First is enhanced creativity. When, as I told you, it's a challenging job for the teachers, for the special educators, because you have a varied challenges you're going to face every day. When the team is given the freedom to work and they start thinking out of the box, and the results are awesome. Increased employee engagement. When an inclusive leader assigns roles for the faculty based on their strength again, you can see the output to be optimum. Improved decision making. When you take the decision as a leader, it's not a dictatorial decisions and it's a democratic decisions. And the leaders are more inclusive and involve the team in making the decisions, definitely the results are good. And every member in the team tries to own the organization. And the result is less labor turnover. I have most of my faculty who have been working with me for more than a decade. And when the team is so welcoming, we can also attract more talent. And each child's potential is drawn, the advantage of a best inclusive leader. So when you make an IEP working with the strength of the child and try to overcome his challenges using his strengths, when we make tailor-made curriculum to fit the needs of each child in the group, every child is able to reach his or her potential. Like we said, every child learns differently, and every child can do and can reach his maximum potential. Now, why are we talking so much, and why is it so important to talk so much about inclusive leadership? To meet, again, we have been discussing this last 2 days, to meet the goals of UN SDG Goal 4, which aims to ensure inclusive and equitable education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. We need inclusive leaders who are ready to put in place the policies and practices that will make this goal a reality. The inclusive leaders need to work collaboratively to make changes in the policy to meet the UN SDG 4. Inclusion should not just be restricted to including all children, again, only in the registers or in the building infrastructure, but must make conscious efforts to include them in every bit of learning and help them grow to the maximum potential. Now, we spoke so much about inclusive leadership, but is it really possible? Yes, but there are challenges which we would face as being an inclusive leader. First is the clarity of vision, mission. And there will be a constant divide as the management needs to buy into the ideas of the leader, which shall be challenging most of the time. Unless all are aligned with the same vision, it's very tough. Next is trained professionals to cater to different needs. It's not very easy to get therapists around because each child sometimes will need different therapists, different educators, or different accommodations. So sometimes it is very tough to get all the people under one roof. To cater to different needs of the children, we need trained professionals and therapists, which becomes a challenge and also not feasible. Also, there is a need to constantly update ourselves. Otherwise, we would be outdated in the market. We need constant professional development programs to prepare teachers and staff to better understand themselves in their journey to become more inclusive. Both new and experienced teachers need training on how to increase inclusive practices in their curriculum and teaching practices. Because it's not very easy, as I told you, it becomes too their teachers will get drained out by the end of the day. But they should really be having a motive to, they should enjoy working with these children, only then it would happen. Next is support. To get support, you all know it's very difficult. Financial support, government support, or sometimes even the parental support. We need constant support in terms of finances, infrastructure, etc. Because sometimes if you need I mean, everything is for money. So it becomes expensive, and it's also a burden for the parents. It's on the parents, it's a burden when they have to spend so much money for therapies. Difficult to get grants and support from the government. Our school recently, we had applied for ATG and 12A, and we have just 1 year we got all this. Lastly, the parent support. I have an instance here where the parent says, my child is having an issue, but I do not want the other children in the class to have any issues. So when the parent wants an inclusive environment, but he does not want the other, because again, there is a stigma attached to it, or they say that he's going to learn other behaviors. So the parents are also not ready to accept other children's challenges. Yeah. So I would like to conclude. I would like to say we need leaders who can have a strong vision of inclusion and work towards it with persistence and with patience without giving up. Thank you, Saida. Also, I would like to extend that most of my teachers, though it was the first time, it was so overwhelming for them, and they also want to contribute some part of their knowledge to Vidya Vahini. And we are also open, and anyone wants to see the way, or they want to come and observe children, and also as a training, or they want to come and work with these children or learn some, because though you learn so much in the books, unless you see these children, you will not understand how it can be implemented. We are open, and you all can come and
There was so much to learn from your talk, Ambika ji. Thank you so much. The 6 C's, consciousness, curiosity, courage, compassion, competence, and consistencies as the key elements of inclusive leadership was beautifully explained by you. You put it so well that leaders with a strong vision of inclusion is the need of the hour. I am sure the points touched upon by Ambika ma'am will clearly benefit all the school representatives who are present amidst us today. Let us show our appreciation with a big round of applause. Now, I would like to invite Srimati Shobha Dasika, SSSVV Training Data Coordinator, to come to the stage and felicitate Srimati Ambika Subramaniam.